the marketplace. There is a cartel, that is to say, the county business, the biggest business in the county is the public school, the Hamilton County Public Schools, brought to you by the state of Tennessee and the constitutional provision that sees great public value and benefit in a free public education, one that is required in the Constitution to meet three rules, three standards, one of which clearly has never been part of the system since it has been in existence. That provision from the 19th century, not regarded in the least. And so we have a catch-all cartel where all classroom seat warming by young people is paid for by the state and local taxpayers. Half of your county tax bill goes to pay for Hamilton County schools. And in this cartel, we have a continuing effort at reform. Some reforms in the past decades have come from above OBE, outcome-based education, the No Child Left Behind law from the Texas bigwig clan of the Bushes, and of course the federal Congress writing the details on that. Now in disrepair and disrepute. Now we have other schemes and plans and proposals to bring about reform in your public school here in Chattanooga. And the latest iteration, which is to say the latest step, the latest innovation, is now get this, the Future Ready Institute. And they are a way by which the administration, the school system, helped along by Jared Bigham at Chattanooga 2.0 and some well-meaning funders in the corporate sector. They are going to bring a kind of market-oriented change, which is going in the direction of homeschooling. Okay, homeschooling and Christian education and private education in the county, all of which have already made this discovery. Okay, but now it's being half discovered under the veil, as it were, a kind of a veil in front of the eyes of our public school administrators, led by our new super, Brian Johnson. And it is a kind of oriented in the market in the sense that there is a decentralization in which particular schools will have specialized institutes in which there are kind of orientations in the direction of the marketplace, and the student is thought not that student can become his own genius, his own entrepreneur, his own discoverer, his own innovator, a man or a woman following his/her own dreams. No, but that person will become an employee, a public resource, a corporate resource at some point by the employment structure, becoming a servant of a corporation. Now in Hickson, for example, there will be an institute for integrative agriculture, food, natural resources. I'm looking here at timetreepress.com, which has, as the other standard issue platforms have, the roundup of which institute will go where. At Howard School, there will be the Erlanger Institute for Healthcare and Innovation, as it is thought that, well, if you have a large group of African Americans, they'll end up mopping floors in the hospital and taking out the linen, and that's what they'll be doing. And that will be at Howard High School, the Institute also of Hospitality and Tourism, which is to say, we'll have people who come out of Howard High School who work in the restaurant business and who work when the executive and his family leave the suites downtown. There'll be graduates from Howard High School who are in a track and in a trap also. Those graduates will be there to take the linens off the beds and to wipe down the mirror and make sure nothing untoward is left in the bathtub. That is what those people will be doing, according to the new Future Ready Institute. And it sounds very good, right? This is of course, there's the best in marketing going into this proposal for Hamilton County, and there is a sense in which there is more realism. There's more realism in the arrangements proposed by the superintendent. Remember, superintendent. Well, the word superintendent is a word that actually means something. Okay, there is the intendant, And then there's the superintendent. So the idea intendant you find often in books connected with France. I'm trying to think now where maybe there's a Shakespeare play, Henry IV. Maybe there is the intendant of France. Okay, he's a man who's kind of a marshal, and he's leading some of the French soldiers with other officers with grandiose titles like that into battle to defeat against the British at Agincourt, I think. And so intendant is someone who intends things. Well, now the superintendent is someone who intends above all the others, right? You have your son or daughter in a classroom. There's a teacher who is an intendant, right? He intends certain things to be delivered pursuant to state policy and the state's theory of the world that day. It's all chopped up in days, right? And all chopped up into subjects. And the intendant is the teacher. And so that your son or daughter gets the dosage, the required dosage as well. Now, he may also be hopped up on narcotics through the school nurse who delivers. Probably half the school students are under a narcotic control of some kind in Hamilton County. It's a very large number. If it's not a half, it may be a third, but there is a stupendous official drug addiction in public education. And now there's a superintendent, right? And in our city, it's Brian Johnson, who he intends above everybody else. His intentions, we're to believe, intends and superintends those of other people. So he is, and of course, the intendency of that man overrides and overwashes for their own benefit, of course, the intentions of the parents, all of whom submit quietly to the public school, yielding their children under the doctrine of in loco parentis. And loco parentis simply means in the place of parents, right? In the location parentis, in the loco is location, in the location of parents. And so we have our children yielded up to these gun-free zones where there is the growing trend and the clamor for Fortress America, Fortress School, the school as prison. Now, in prison, you have walls, bars, barbed wire, and security personnel behind metal detectors to keep people in. Right, in the public school system. If we could just have more funding, we'll have a security apparatus outside the public school to keep people out. That would be the teenage former students, the disaffected client of a psychiatrist somewhere here in Chattanooga, coming in with his AR-15 and his 9mm Heckler Koch, right, with 16 round magazines plus one in the chamber. That's the man to be afraid of in Hamilton County. Well, this is David Tulis, and we're just getting started. And I'm looking at the new innovations, the new reforms being brought in the headline in the Times Free Press under very fine pictures. Why can I not read this headline all the way through here on my screen? There is a way of connecting. Here it is. Massive effort launched to prepare Hamilton County students for a workforce. Well, we thought education was to make our children liberal, right? To make our children trained to think independently. But no, and public schools have almost always been in this direction. If we believe writers, one of my favorite writers is probably the most outstanding historian on modern American history, apart from R.J. Rushdoony, maybe Gary North as well, and Dante Legato, formerly from the City of New York school system, given 2 years or 3 years in a row best teacher of the year award before he was unceremoniously fired. They had to get him off the payroll somehow, so they finally fired him. And he is an author of many, not enough, but many, well, several very good volumes, including Weapons of Mass Instruction. And the greatest book of all, one of my favorite books I've given my sons in their personal libraries as they leave home. It is my intention that they have with them his monumental history of the union of industrialism and behaviorism in the American school enterprise, the one that is intended to remove from your son and your daughter his own private destiny, his own private dream, his own unique gift given to him by God, and that all those intentionalities are really in view of the school system and its operation and its claims upon the soul of man, and of course all their time at the time of every person, to deprive said person of said private destiny. These are not to be allowed because they are inefficient. They bring inefficiencies in the marketplace, and the system, since the 1810s, since the arrival of behaviorism, and since the already in the early 20th century, there had already been a 100-year iteration of the German experiment in mass schooling, state-centered mass schooling, to make people ready for service, right? That is what has always been from the Prussians, the Germans. That has always been the purpose of schooling, to make people ready to serve the state. The state is, as Hegel taught, being the highest, the acme of humankind, right? The state is man at perfection. And we have lived a century now where that theory has controlled Chattanooga. It has controlled Hamilton County, and it has controlled this particular state here in the Union, Tennessee, through our constitutional provision for a free system of public education. And you're asking me, well, David, you mentioned this. All right, don't sidetrack me, okay? 800-8949, 800-8949. Don't sidetrack me, but you can if you want to. Just call me. You asked me about this provision in the Constitution, and I don't have it here in front of me, but as I'm remembering, having written some about this provision at Nooganomics.com, the provision says that there has to be a standard of entry, a grid for students who come into the public school. In other words, it's not meant for everybody. It is not a promiscuous gateway in which all can come in, right? It's not a wide road into the public school in Tennessee in the Constitution. It is a road that has some speed bumps and some narrow points. You might say a security gate, and that security gate has never been respected. And so the system, I would like to suggest, is unconstitutional on its face. On its face, it's unconstitutional. It has not been challenged. There has never been, in my review of cases, and sort of general familiarity with Tennessee law, it has not happened. There's not been a challenge to the system per se, which it is vulnerable to a blow, which it has not yet received by anybody. So no one's raised this question, though it's very clear in the Constitution that public schools are meant effectively for the worthy people in our state, not everybody, but for the worthy people. That's essentially the plain language of the provision. But anyway, yeah, that is a side note, isn't it? And you think, boy, David, that's the bomb. Well, there are many bombs in Tennessee law that are there just for the reading. Right? Just open it up and read into it, and you'll find them as I have. But what we have in Chattanooga and Hamilton County is this workforce development. Right, students are workers, and our goal in the public school is to keep them off welfare. It's a very minimal goal, and that is simply to make people compliant. Make them be able to get up on time in the morning and show up for work. Make it so that their minds are not made too active, because if your mind is made active by your teacher, you're gonna be out of there before too long. You're gonna be playing hooky, right? If your teacher inspires you like she should, I would suggest, you're not going to be long in that classroom because you will have grown past her, right? Teachers are provisional and temporary. No one should need a teacher for years and years. No one should need a school for years and years and years and years. If that school is doing its job, theoretically, you should be, by your own internal combinations, your own internal sense of what's right for you, you should be out of there, right? You should be truant within a year or two. At the most, maybe 3 years. I would say maybe by 3 years in any school, you should be truant, because you've already outgrown what you've been given, and it is only a confinement to you. It is only a confinement to you. And this is David Tulis. We are exploring the local economy and the free market here. We're brought to you by yournewsnow.com. Or I say that. It's always not Your News Now. It's just yournews.com. Yournews.com, Chattanooga. and highlight the Chattanooga, Tennessee page, where we post, and we are taking over that part of that website, a national radio-oriented website that I'm very confident will let me have the controls that I want at some point, and we will post it. So I of course, I'm the editor of Nooganomics.com. That's Nooganomics.com, and no need to go there. I mean, it's not a very popular website because it's only for the people who matter. Right? Only people who matter go there and subscribe. Most people don't matter, and you're so busy. Of course, you matter. Of course you do. But you're tuning into my show, and so you're getting everything you need in the 5 minutes you have with me. Just 5 minutes here on the David Tulis Show, and I hope that will be an adequate substitute to the tedious task of reading what Tulis says. I mean, why would you have to read what Tulis says if you have him live on the radio? Right? Why would you need that? Right? Radio is, in fact, the most amazing platform, the most amazing form of media that one could want, and that's because you have it all live right here, right now. And once you hear me for 5 minutes, you've got all you need from me. You don't need anything more than that. And so there's no need to go to yournews.com or to Nooganomics.com because you've got it all live right here. And that is the best system you could get, the best medium you could get. So we're talking about future ready institutes. And in this reform, here's what I would say the free market analysis would give you. And so this, you might say, is the kernel. Well, there are several kernels here, but one really hard one, with a real nice hard shell on it, is that the public school system, is holding on no matter what. It is proposing a decentralization where schools, which are part of the state-oriented progressive grid that we have in Helena County, maintains its hegemony, its control over all. Right? It maintains its own, you might say, its own institutional integrity by having top-down control. But you have these institutes, which are like little schools within the schools. Well, think about, if that's the principle that you're operating upon, cannot you say, well, why don't we go even further than that? And that is, of course, what the internet is compelling bureaucrats to consider. There are states now which have state schools totally online. And so the curriculum, of course, is the mind-altering, reality-altering curriculum of public schools, which has several presuppositions: materialism, evolutionism, progressivism, statism. These are all presuppositions in public school. The helplessness of the individual to do anything on his own, the need for everyone to be constantly monitored and guided and led, you might say, or ministered over. That is one of the teachings of public school. You can have that, though, online. And so there is some recognition in these online forums that schools run, where you can get your credits. We do have an internet, and we do have the printing press, right? This is the new form of the printing press, is the internet, where information is free. Essentially, I this morning was at Panera Bread store having my Friday morning roundup with the guys. Panera Posse is how we call our stuff. We round up the bad guys and put the money back in the bank. And the money we put in the bank, by the way, is species. Just ask me what that is. Ask me what species is. We put the money back in the bank, and so when we're done, I kind of pull away a little early to get to thinking about what I'm going to talk with you about today. And at Panera this morning, what was I saying? I was saying about I forgot what I was going to say about Panera, but something came up to me in Panera this morning, and there is just to get to the point about the system, it is holding on no matter what, and there's no. There's not, the system is fighting dissolution, right? This is my valuable point. I think it's coming to me again here. The system with this reform, Future Ready Institutes, is fighting dissolution by the market. The market is making schooling more and more unrealistic, more and more sort of ridiculous, and yet it will not dissolve itself. Now, let me ask this: is it not possible that we can use the massacre threat, the threat of massacres in public schools, to prompt them to prick the balloon, to make public school people and their protectors, Sheriff Hammond would be the man I'm thinking of here, to make them admit we can't secure the life of any one child in our system because of the threat of armed gunmen, and our system is antiquated, antedated, and has been surpassed, has been bypassed by the digital economy, by the diversified economy, by the PDF. We have been rendered neuter and null and void by PDF. PDF has made us useless. YouTube has made us useless. Khan Academy has made us useless. Extremely expensive. We cannot reduce our costs. Should not there be, using these two stories, the government story and the reform story, and say, let us have in Chattanooga a free market in education and a local economy? David Tulis.
The Tennessee Valley's news talk leader, Nooga Radio.